the fuck is going on?
I'm really sorry. There's a party going on. I'll tell them to keep it down, yeah? Sorry about that.
Are you joking?
I'm sorry?
Are you joking?
I'm sorry. I'll tell them to keep it down, yeah?
Look, come here, come here, come here. Look at this. Look at this.
Oh, yeah.
Come in here.
I'm really sorry.
Come in.
I know.
Come in for a second.
Yeah.
Listen to what I've had to listen to all night.
Yeah, I got it. I'll tell them to keep it down.
And Indian immigrants wonder why they are hated on. It's a mystery, isn't it? Why is it that in countries like Canada, Australia, the UK, and the US, the mention of Indian immigrants often sparks an eye roll or a groan? Let's not beat around the bush. While every immigrant group gets its fair share of stereotypes, Indians abroad seem to attract a special kind of frustration. And it's not just about accents or spicy, pungent curries. It's about behavior that locals see as rude, loud, or downright inconsiderate. Let's start with the everyday stuff. You're on a quiet train in London or Toronto, minding your business, and suddenly someone is on speakerphone shouting a conversation in Hindi or Punjabi or whatever Indian language at full blast. No headphones, no volume control, no warning, just the entire carriage forced to join in on their family drama. It's the same on buses, in supermarkets, even at libraries. In many Western countries, most people are by and large hyper-aware of public space etiquette. Keep it quiet, keep it tidy. When Indians come in with a very different sense of what's normal, it rubs people the wrong way. They are used to doing it at home, so why not do it when abroad? Then there's the bare feet on public transport seats. To many Indians, especially those from small towns, this is no big deal. Back home, it's common to lounge around with feet up. But in places like Sydney or Vancouver, where trains are cleaned daily and people expect basic respect for shared spaces, this just looks dirty and careless. Nothing screams bad manners like putting your nasty toes where someone's going to sit. And don't even get started on food. Curry can be delicious, no doubt. But eating strong-smelling food like biryani or fish curry on a crowded subway, that's not just a meal, that's biological warfare. People in the West are used to quick snacks on the go, usually something easy to eat like a pastry, not an entire kitchen's worth of aromas filling the air that is then eaten by hand. The result? Glares, complaints, and the stereotype of those Indians with the smelly food. Littering is another big one. In countries like Australia or Japan, which is surprisingly seeing more and more Indian immigrants, people are obsessed with recycling and keeping streets clean. So when locals see Indian students or immigrants tossing trash out of a car window or leaving a park messy after a picnic, it sparks instant backlash. It's not about racism. It's about respect for community spaces. And unfortunately, the careless few end up making the whole group look bad. But I'm being generous here because it's not just a few, it's quite a lot actually. Now, let's talk about noise. As you just saw in the intro video, many Indian students and families abroad are famous for throwing massive house parties, music blasting, cars parked all over the street, and neighbors kept awake until 3 in the morning. Back in India, this is normal. Noise regulations are barely enforced. But in suburban America or British towns, where people guard their peace and quiet like treasure, this is basically a declaration of war on the neighborhood. And when police are called multiple times to shut down the same parties, people start forming very strong opinions about those Indian neighbors. But here's where it gets complicated. Not every Indian abroad acts this way. Most adapt quickly, follow local norms, and are perfectly good neighbors and colleagues. The problem is, when you have a huge immigrant community, like in Canada, where Indians make up nearly 40% of international students, and they are focused in certain regions, it only takes a small fraction behaving badly for the stereotype to take hold. People remember the loud party that kept them up all night, not the quiet, polite Indian family next door. It also doesn't help that many Indian immigrants arrive in large numbers, often clustering in the same neighborhoods. For locals, it can feel overwhelming. Suddenly, their town or city feels different, not just in demographics, but in sound, smell, and culture. And humans, by nature, resist change. add in behaviors considered bad manners, and resentment builds fast. And then there's the online side of things. Indians abroad often carry the same online habits we see from India itself. Nationalist chest beating, constant comparisons, and endless arguments about how India is number one. When that attitude collides with Western audiences, who already see the offline cultural clashes, it reinforces the stereotype of Indians being loud, argumentative, and unwilling to adapt. Take YouTube comment sections, for example. Ever noticed how almost every video about Pakistan, China, or even random tech reviews ends up with Indians arguing about how their country is number one? It doesn't matter if the video was about smartphones or cooking recipes, somehow the conversation swerves into nationalism. It's like showing up at a family barbecue and yelling about geopolitics while everyone else just wants to eat. People get annoyed because it feels less like a conversation and more like a lecture nobody asked for. But I guess that's the reason, that they feel inadequate and know in their heart of hearts that they aren't actually number one, so they must keep shouting it from the rooftops. But let's be fair here. Some of this frustration is also cultural misunderstanding. What's rude in Toronto might not be rude in Delhi. Loudness, for example, isn't seen as a lack of manners in many parts of India. It's just normal socializing. Eating fragrant food in public isn't frowned upon back home. It's daily life. Because guess what? Curry is everywhere in India. And of course, there's far worse smells that plague India, such as open flowing sewage or cow dung. When these norms clash with Western expectations, the result is tension. Tension that we currently see bubbling in every Western country. And while locals complain about Indians being inconsiderate, Indians often don't even realize they're doing anything wrong. For them, it's normal. So, why is everyone sick and tired of Indian immigrants in countries like Canada, Australia, the UK, and the US? It's a mix of things: loud public behavior, lack of respect for shared spaces, food smells that overwhelm strangers, littering, noisy late-night parties, and a reputation for being overly nationalistic online. The truth is, it's not about every Indian. It's about the noticeable minority who stand out, frustrate their neighbors, and end up defining the community's reputation. At the end of the day, it comes down to this. Moving to another country means learning the rules of the culture you're in and actually abiding by them. That's how integration and immigration is meant to be. Not simply bringing your culture and values to replace the native ones. However, the blame does not lie solely on immigrants. We must also hold governments to account for letting in huge numbers of immigrants and letting them cluster up in areas such as Brampton. When people refuse to adapt, they don't just make themselves look bad, they drag their whole community down with them. There's so many honest, hard-working, well-mannered Indian immigrants who have settled and adopted the culture and language while raising their children with these values. But they face attacks and criticism because of their unruly compatriots, and it's sad to see such a thing happen.